So yeah, I think recording has been started. Yes, Chirag, if you want, you can start the session. I'll try my best to resolve all the non-technical queries. I'll keep you hold all the technical queries which are for you only. Yeah, yeah. All the very
Yeah.
best.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you, Nitish. Hi, everyone. Hi, welcome to the demo session for CCNA DevNet Training. And welcome to PyNet Labs, first of all. So one request, Nitish, can you please drop down the link for the Telegram group? So guys,
Sure,
we
sure.
will be, yeah, we are sharing the link for the Telegram group. You guys can join that group. After the session, I'll be putting some documents there. So you can refer to them as a help guide for learning more depth of Python. And most of it we will be trying to cover here in the session. So as I can see in the chat box, most of you guys are new to Python. That's totally fine. The good thing about this program, which we do at PyNet Labs for DevNet, is that we first spend a good amount of time with Python. We try to learn the basics of Python. We try to learn the required fundamentals, which we need for network automation. So that's one thing which you can be rest assured about, that even if you have zero understanding of Python or programming languages, then also you will be able to cope up with the syllabus of DevNet program. And for this demo session also, I think Python would be a good topic to discuss. So we'll try to cover Python today. We'll try to understand how to get ready with Python, how to get the understanding of Python as per the network automation requirements. So the very first thing is understanding Python. So let's try to talk a little bit about Python before we get started to how it is used or how basically it helps us in network automation. So guys, you all must have heard about Python now. It's quite an important and popular programming language. But the question is that why Python? Even before understanding how to use Python, the question is why Python? Like there are various other options also, right? There is Java, there is C, C++. So what is the reason why we are still looking into Python? Why is it so popular or what makes it so special? Let me know in the chat box. What do you think? What are the reasons behind network engineers or developers just using Python for creating or developing multiple programs? Let me know in the chat box. Awesome. Easy to understand. Open source. English-like language. Perfect. Very correctly mentioned by Vivek and Manjunath that the Python is very simple, right? It is very easy to understand, very much similar to English language. So it becomes very easy for anyone who is new to programming. Now, the other programming languages, like I mentioned, C, C++, they are also easy, but you need to have some technical understanding of these programming languages to get started with them. But that's not the case with Python. Let me do one thing. I'll open the notepad to write down the notes here. So when we ask the question, why Python? The reasons are that Python is easy to understand. Correct? That's the very first thing. Then simple syntax. The syntax is very simple. It is easy to use. You don't have to worry about a lot of rules. You don't have to worry about uh, lot of things when you are writing your codes. So it is very easy to work with Python. Then after that, Python basically is something which is going to be available on a wide category of platforms. So we can say works on multiple platforms like Windows, like Mac, like Linux, then like Pi operating systems and so on, etc. So it's not that your Python can only be used with Windows devices or with just Mac devices. It is available on a wide category of platforms. So even if you are writing a code on your Windows machine, then you can execute the code on Mac, you can do it on Linux, you can do it on Pi in the same manner. That's what we call as interpreter-based language. So basically, the ability of writing a code that can be executed right away is what known as interpreter system. So interpreter system is that you write a code and it gets executed as it is written. Then there are some languages which are compiler based. So you have to compile them, you have to create an executable file. Now, when you create this executable file, you have to worry about what operating system this file is going to be used on. But that's not the case here with Python. It is interpreter based. You write the code, you get it executed, and you are done. That's how easy and quick it is. So these are some reasons why we are sticking to Python. And as you have already guys mentioned that it is very easy. So understanding it won't be a very difficult task for us as well. So let's get started. Let's talk about how Python can be used or what all versions are there for Python, which we can use to get started with Python. So basically, in order to get Python, we can go to the site python.org. You can simply go to this particular website and you can get the Python installed on your computer. I'll show you the process. But when you go to python.org, you will find two versions of Python there. One is going to be 2.x version and one is going to be 3.x version. The version 2.x is now no longer being developed. We can say basically that is something which we are not using nowadays. 3.x is something which we have started using and which is also under the development. Now, when we talk about the two different versions, they are very similar to each other. So the good point is that if in some case, like it is very rare case scenario, but if in some case or for some reasons, you have to work with Python 2.x, then that will be very easy to do. Like they are very similar to each other. If you have learned even one version, then you can also work with the other one. That's totally going to work for you. You will be able to manage things. That's the good part. But here in the training, we'll be exploring the Python 3.x and we'll be learning about things by using Python 3, because as I mentioned, that is something which is under development and we are still using. So let's get started. Let's quickly understand how to use Python and how to get our hands on this favorite language of developers, Python. So very first thing I'll need is a browser from which I can go to the python.org file. So let's open the browser and go to python.org. Once you reach this web page, you simply have to go to download section. You hover your mouse there. According to your operating system, you can select the option. I have this machine as Windows machine, so I'll click on download for Windows. And I can see that the installer is already getting installed. Once it is downloaded successfully, I simply have to double click to open this. And since I already have it in my setup, that's why it is giving me three options to modify, repair, or uninstall. So I'll quickly uninstall it to show you the installation process. Meanwhile, guys, you can go to the website and can get the downloader installed in your device from this particular website. Let me put down the link also in the chat box. Okay, we have got some more inputs in the chat box. We can see vast range of libraries which make task easy. Absolutely correct. When we talk about libraries, there is a huge range of libraries which we can use to perform various kinds of actions. Now that is available in the case of Python, and Python, I would say, is all about understanding which library to use at what scenario. Okay, the Python is uninstalled successfully from my device. Let me open the installer again. Okay. Once you double click on the installer, you will get a window like this. The only thing you need to make sure is that you check this box add python.exe to path so that it can be available for your all users which you have on your device. Then after that, you can do install now and the installation will go fine. After that, you don't have to modify any settings. It will take a little time. Yeah.
Yeah. So here I can see some of the participants wants to speak and discuss something. You can feel free to raise your hand. I'll give you the access. Like this is just a demo class where we are not allowing to speak, but whenever you want, you can feel free to raise your hand. However, in the live session, you all will be given authority or rights to speak or anytime. Like you can anytime unmute yourself and can discuss your queries with Mr. Chirag or Mr. Abhijit or any other instructor for any respective trainings. Yeah. Yeah, Chirag, you can proceed.
Great, thank you. So I basically have successfully installed Python in my device. Now it's time to understand how to use it. So we can close this now. I'll open my command prompt. Once you are inside your command prompt, you have to type the word Python to get into the interpreter. Once you type Python, it will show you something like this. We'll print out some details related to the version you are using, and then we'll give you 3 angular brackets. This represents that you are inside the Python interpreter. So whatever you type now will be related to Python and will get executed. The question is how to close this now. Let's say I want to get back to my command prompt. So how to close this? You can type the exit function. You will simply say exit and then put parentheses, empty brackets and give enter. And you are back into your command prompt. Let's try to enter again, Python. And there you go. You are inside your interpreter. You can execute your commands here. Then once you are done, you can say exit like this. This is how you use it inside interpreter. This can also be used in IDE. What is IDE now? IDE stands for Integrated Development Environments. Like you might have heard about the applications like VS Code or PyCharm. All these are IDE. They make the process of writing programming languages easier. But as of now, since we are just learning the basics, we don't need IDE. But in the training program, we will also be learning about how to use them and how to write programming scripts inside integrated development environments like VS Code. As of now, we'll stick to this interpreter. Let's enter into the interpreter again. And here I'll try to run some Python commands. Now it's time to try the very first command. So let's follow the tradition and let's try to print out hello world. We'll simply say print bracket and then specify the value which you want to print, hello world. Like this, close the bracket, hit enter, and there you go. We have got the output hello world. Now we have successfully followed the tradition and we have got the results hello world. But there is a difference in the command which I have sent and the output I am getting. The first thing which is not there is this print word. Why is it not there? Because print is a function which we use for, we can say, printing out the values which we are providing. Print is a function. Hello world will be called as argument. So for print function, the argument hello world is printed out. Now, whenever you use function, you put brackets like we were using it with exit function. That is also clear. But what about these quotes? The quotes are not there in the output, right? The quotation marks in the program marks the beginning and the end of the text you are trying to display. This will define that your text which you are willing to print out begins, and the closing one will define that here the text ends. And this will be called as string. So string is a data type of Python which can include alphabets, can include numbers. So we don't have to get confused here. This is very easy. Print is the function here, right? Brackets are used with functions. Quotation marks define the beginning and the ending of your text to be displayed. And we call this particular whole thing as string. Hello world is a string. So we just have tried to print out a string which is hello world. Now let's try to print out something else. Let's say I want to print PyNet Labs Network Automation Specialist. Now this is where I want to end the message. So I'll put a closing quotation mark, we'll put a closing bracket, and I will hit enter. And that prints out the message for me, PyNet Labs Network Automation Specialist. But if let's say I want to print the same thing again, so can I do that? No, right? I'll have to type the whole thing again. I'll have to type down the whole message again. This is where variables get into picture. What are variables? Let's try to understand. Variables are your containers. Like you store some food in your container, and then whenever you need that food, you simply basically you point at that container, right? You might not refer to the exact dish of your food, but you will refer to the container that it is in that box, right? Just like that, the data can also be stored inside containers. So containers, or we can say variables, are something inside which you store your data. How do you create a variable? Very easily. We'll say message is equals to, and then we'll type down the same message, PyNet Labs hyphen network automation specialist. Closing quotation marks, hit enter. We will not get any output for this. But what are we actually doing here is we are storing this value, the whole value, into a container called message. Now, when I want to print this message, I don't have to type the whole thing. I can simply say print message, enter, and that will print it out for me. And even if I want to do it again, I can use the same command, print message, and will print it out again for me. That's because I have stored the value inside my variable, and I can call my variable now multiple times in my script to get that particular value printed out. But you guys must have observed one difference here. Earlier, when I was writing something inside the print function, I was putting quotation marks, right? Like when I tried printing out hello world, I added quotation marks. But this time for message, I didn't use any quotation marks. So let's understand why. When I use quotation marks, I said that that defines the beginning and end of my string or the value which I want to print out. But message here is not a value. Message is a container. It is an object inside which I have the value, correct? So if I want to print out something from an object, I don't have to use quotation marks there. And what will happen if I use there? What will happen if I put quotation marks? Let's try to see. Now my Python will understand message as the value. For Python now, the message which I am adding inside the brackets is the value itself. So when I say print quotation marks message, so it will print out the word message itself. Make sense, guys? But if I do it without quotation marks, then the Python will consider it as an object and will print out the value which we have stored inside the object called message. So yes, Sachin, there is no requirement of license. It is free to use. You can get it from the website python.org as I have showed you the process. So this is the difference, guys, here between the string and the object. Now with this object, which is a variable, we can perform multiple functions. But before we get to that part, I want to see a thumbs up from your side if everything we have discussed till now is clear to you all or not. If there is any questions, you can put up in the chat box. Feel free to raise your hands if you want to get unmuted. Are we good with this, guys? Give me a thumbs up, please. Okay, I have got the response. Yes, perfect. Great. Awesome. All right. At any point you find something difficult to understand, you can raise your hands and you can ask your questions. After this, we'll try to understand how to assign multiple values to multiple variables. Let's say I want to define 3 variables, and to those 3 variables, I want to define 3 values, right? So either I can do it one by one. For example, I can say name is equals to Chirag. Then I can say role is equals to instructor. Then I can say domain is equals to CISCO. Now this is the first method of assigning 3 different values to 3 different variables. Otherwise, what I can do is I can do the same thing using a single line also. I can say name, comma, role, comma, domain is equals to, and then I can define the first value as Chirag. Then, okay, I have hit the enter key and it gives me the error that not enough values to unpack. So we didn't provide the values for each and every variable. That's why we got the error. It expected 3 values from us, but it got only 1. So such types of errors are also going to be there whenever you will be performing your scripts. And the good part is that most of the time, just by reading the error message, you will get to you'll get the understanding that what exactly is the problem in your program. So these few things we'll be also exploring in the training. As of now, let's try to fix this up. We'll write the same thing again, name, comma, role, comma, domain is equals to Chirag, then comma, instructor, comma, CISCO, enter. So by doing this, basically I can perform the similar task in a single line. Now, if I want to just print out the rule, I can say print rule, enter, and it will print out instructor for me. Similarly, guys, there is one more important thing to understand here, that name and name and name. These three are whole different variables. So Python is a case sensitive language. If you are using smaller case in the first one and the uppercase in the second one, then that means these two are different variables. So they'll not get mixed up because they have the same word name in them. No, if the letters are in different, we can say case, then they are different variables. So now we'll try out some more examples. Now let's try to see the data types. Like we were saying that these are strings, these are the values which we print out. So let's try to see how exactly the data type of a value can be checked. So right now we have stored the value Chirag inside the variable called name. So if I want to check the data type of name, what I'll do is I'll say print the type of name like this. So type function is used to check the data type. And since we want to print that out, we are putting it inside the print function. When I hit enter, it tells me that it is str. Str represents string. Just like string, there are also integers, which are another data type. What are integers? In simpler words, they are just numbers, right? So for example, if I say number is my variable name and the number I'm storing inside it is 123, enter. Now, if I check the data type of number, if I say print type of number and I hit enter, then it tells me that the class of this data is int. Int represents integer. Just like the string and integer, there are multiple other data types which we can explore in Python. And one of it is list, and then another one is dictionaries. So we'll be learning about all of them in the training also, and we'll try to cover most of them here also. So before that, let's try to play a little more around with the strings, which we have just now learned. Let's try to change the values of string by using some predefined or built-in functions. So we have a string called Chirag inside the object called name, right? If I say print name, then the value I get is Chirag. Let's try to play a little bit with this variable name. Let's try to convert the data of name into uppercase. Right now, Chirag is a value in which only C is capital, right? Let's say I want to completely change this into uppercase. So what I'll do is I'll say print bracket name dot, and then I will use the built-in function upper. Put the empty brackets. Now this function upper needs to have bracket. So we'll put it like this, and then we will close the print bracket, the one which we opened here. Enter. And you can see Chirag is printed out in the uppercase. Similarly, guys, we can also print out the value into lowercase. So any guesses what would be the built-in function called as for lowercase? Exactly. Very simple. Like we have it for uppercase, we have it upper. For lowercase, we'll use dot lower. Let's say now the value which I'll store is organization is equals to PyNet Labs, all in caps. OK, now I'll try to convert this into lowercase. How you do that? You will simply say print org dot lower and enter. See, the data is converted now into lowercase. So we have a question. What happens if we store same variable two times? During print, are we printing the first one or the second one? So guys, now let's say name currently has the value Chirag, right? If I say print name, the value inside it is Chirag. So name is equals to, if I modify this to Abhijit, enter. Now when I say print name, so will I get the output as Chirag or will I get the output as Abhijit? That's your question here, Yusuf, right? So guys, we need to understand one thing. When I am writing name is equals to Abhijit, I am basically redefining the value. I am reassigning the value Abhijit to the variable name. So when I say print name, now I will not get the output Chirag in any case. I'll get Abhijit. There you go. Because now onwards, the name variable is storing the value Abhijit. There is no possibility that I can get the value Chirag out of name. Why? As I mentioned, name is now storing what? Abhijit. So the last value you have assigned to your variable is going to come as the output. That's one rule which you can always remember. I hope this is clear now. What happens if we use print name? Then you will get name as the output. If you say print bracket quotation marks and name, output is going to be the word name itself. Why? Because name is being considered as string, not an object. Perfect, Grace. Now we basically have tried converting the data into uppercase and lowercase. We can also replace the values. So for example, now I have a message here. Let's say message is equals to hello world. Enter. But wait a second, I have mistakenly entered P instead of O, right? So that's a mistake. Now I want to replace O with P. So we have a built-in function for that. We can say print message dot replace bracket. First you specify what you want to replace. So I want to replace P, then you put a comma, then you specify with what value do you want to replace P. So I want to replace it with O. Close the brackets, hit enter, and there you go. The output is hello world. The P was replaced with O because of this particular built-in function. But now if I say print message without writing replace function, then the value is going to come out as help world only. Make sense, guys? We are not making this change permanent by adding it into a print function. We basically are just saying that we want to print this message with a little change where we want to replace P with O. But what if I want to make it permanent? So what I can do is I can redefine the values like I did just now for the variable name, right? I redefined it to Abhijit. Just like that, I can redefine the value for the message by saying message dot replace bracket P, comma, O. This time when I say print message, so I have changed the letter P permanently to O by writing this line. So that's why in the output also it is not help world, it is hello world. What questions do we have, guys? Let me know in the chat box. And if everything is good, then you can react using this Teams application. You can give me thumbs up or just say yes, it is clear to me in the chat box. Let me know. All right. We have understood a couple of functions or built-in methods like upper, lower, right? We have understood replace now. Now, very important one or very useful one is format. So let's pay a lot of attention here and let's try to get this format function because it is very useful, is highly used in network automation. So let's try to understand how that works. Now, guys, we are not always sure that whether we want to create a loopback interface number 1, like there are chances that you might want to create loopback 10 on some router. Then on the other router, you might want to create loopback 15. So it is not necessary that every time you have to create a loopback number 10 only on all the network devices, right? So you need to depend on the user values. You need to depend on the user to provide the values for a particular set of configurations. So let's try to understand how format function is going to help us in that scenario. So unless this will also answer your question that how Python is used in networking world. Very simple example I'll take right now because we are very new and we are just learning the things for the very first time. So we'll make it not complicated, but we'll try to understand as much as possible. So using the format function, we'll try to understand how we can modify the values a little bit. Let's see. For example, let's say I want to store a value for my variable name. Name is equals to my name is, and I'm not sure what name my participant is going to have. It can be Ayushman, it can be Ankit, it can be Oliver, it can be Vikhyat, Hemant, anything, right? We are multiple participants here. It can be anything. So I will put curly brackets instead of providing a value there. I'll close my quotation marks. I will hit enter. What's the benefit of this? Let's see. So I'll say print bracket name, and we'll use format function there by saying dot format. And then inside the bracket, I'll specify the value Chirag. Close the brackets, hit enter, and the output says my name is Chirag. Similarly, if I want to print out some different name, say name dot format bracket Vivek. I have to specify Vivek under quotations like this. If I do that, then the output is going to be my name is Vivek. So what are we getting here is the capability of changing the values every time we want, right? If you want Chirag to be printed out, you can specify Chirag. If you want Vivek to be printed out, you can specify Vivek there. Similarly, when you are configuring interfaces, it is not necessary that you are always going to put loopback 1, loopback 2 on all the devices. At some device, I might want loopback 1. At the other, I might want loopback 10, right? The same is with the IP. For the first device, I might use 192.168.1.1. For the other, I might use 10.1. All these values are dynamic, right? They might differ at each and every device. So let's try to understand how we can make the use of format function there. What I'll do is, let's say I want to write down the commands. First of all, let me open the notepad again. Just a second, guys. I'll be right back. Sorry about this.
So till Chirag is coming back, I hope now you all gets little familiar with Python. Yeah. So yeah. So after this session, Mr. Chirag will share these snaps of the Python scripts which we have used and some of other like PDF forms which are related to Python or networking in the Telegram channel. So if you haven't joined our Telegram channel, I have sent or I have shared the Telegram group link in this chat box. You can just scroll up some messages, you will see the link is there, so you can join that group and we will share whatever content we are covering and some extra materials on it. Okay.
Yes. All right. So I'm back. Now let's see what are the commands which we use for creating configurations on interface. Let's say, for example, I want to create interface configurations. So what I'll do is I'll get started first of all from the command configure terminal, right? Or even we'll use enable first, then configure terminal. Then we'll put the interface name. Let's say interface loopback 10. After that, you put the IP address 192.168.1.1, 255.255.255.0. Then no shutdown, and then exit. Then basically you can say that's all. So these are around 6 commands which we use for creating loopback 10 on our device, right? In these 6 commands, there are some values which we might want to change every time. The very first out of it is the loopback 10, right? The name of the interface can be different at each and every router. I might want to configure gigabit Ethernet 1 on some router, and on the other, I might want to configure gigabit Ethernet 2. This is one thing which I need to be different, so I'll put curly brackets for that. The IP can always differ, and it will always differ, right? You cannot have same IP on routers again and again or more than one interface. So this is again a value which we want to change every time. The same is the case with the mask. So for all these, I will try to get a new value every time by using the format function. But even before that, we need to understand that how we can store data into multiple lines. So let's see how that is done. So I'll create a variable called commands. Commands is equals to triple quotes, and then I will type enable and I will hit enter. So what are we doing here? We are creating a multi-liner string. Earlier, when we were putting single quotation marks, we are telling the Python that my data will be stored inside a single line, which we are doing, right? And when we put triple ones, then that means we are willing to store data into multiple lines. So what do we call this? Multi-liner string. After the enable, I will write the command configure terminal, enter, then interface. And instead of writing the name, I'll put curly brackets. Correct? I'll put curly brackets like this. Then IP space address. Put the curly brackets, space curly brackets, enter. No shutdown, enter, exit. This is where I want to close my multi-liner string. So I'll put triple quotes again like this and I will hit enter. Now commands contain all the commands which we use for configuring any interface. And how will we modify it every time? What is the function, guys? Let me know in the chat box. Which function is going to help me here in this scenario to change the values? Replace. No, I want to put the values for these curly brackets. Like we have learned here, my name is curly brackets, and then I use the format function, right? Correct. So format is the function which we will be using here also for defining all the three values. Let's see. I'll say print commands. First of all, I'll show you if I don't use any format function, then what happens or what is going to be the output. When I say print commands, it simply prints out whatever I have stored, right? But if I say print commands dot format bracket, and then I start specifying the values. First thing I need to specify is the interface name. So I can say loopback 1, comma. Next, I need to define the IP 192.168.1.1, comma. Next, I need to define what? The subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Put the closing brackets, hit enter, and there you go. Your commands are modified as per the values you provided. Loopback 1, IP, subnet mask, and this will create the loopback 1 on your device. Now, I want to use the same script for creating loopback 10. I don't have to modify my script. I can simply redefine the values using the format function. So I'll say print commands dot format. This time I will define the values as per loopback 10. So loopback 10, comma, IP 192.168.10.1. Subnet 255.255.255.0. Put the closing bracket, hit enter, and there you go. The values are modified as per loopback 10. That's how format function is used. Now, this was just a glimpse. There are more details related to this. Let's try to understand what these details are. So you guys must have observed that we are following a order here, right? We are defining the name first, defining the IP after that, then we are defining the subnet, because that's how the curly brackets are defined. First, it is defined for name, then for IP, then for subnet. Now, this was a very short example, so it was quite obvious that this is the order and we have followed that. But there can be scenarios where you have a code of around 50 lines and there are 100 curly brackets inside it. Then following the order there is a very difficult task to do. So what you do is you give name to your curly brackets. Let's see how. Let's say we have a message here, message, or even before that, I'll define some variables. Name, come on. Name is equals to Chirag. And then I can say age is equals to 26. After that, I'll print a message. Message is equals to my name is curly brackets dot I am curly brackets years old. Now, if I don't provide any name to my curly bracket, then I will have to follow the order. But if I say that my name is curly brackets, and inside it I'll type name of candidate. Similarly, here I'll type age of candidate. Now, the good point is that I don't have to follow any order. I can even define the age first by referring to this keyword age of candidate. Then I can later define the name, but they will still come out in the correct order. Why? Because I'm defining as per the names. Now I'm not depending upon the order, rather I'll depending upon the name of my curly bracket. So when I say print message, and I'll intentionally go wrong with the order. So I'll say format. I'll define age of candidate first. Age of candidate is equals to, I'll say 26, comma. After that, I'll define name of candidate. Name of candidate is equals to Chirag. Even when I am not following the order, still the output is going to be correct. Okay, I basically missed on putting the closing bracket, so that's why it gave me the error there. So I'll put down another closing bracket and I will hit enter, and there you go. The output says my name is Chirag, I am 26 years old. So when you have multiple curly brackets, you can give name to them. Let's try the same thing with commands also. So I'll say I'll redefine the commands. Commands is equals to multi-line string, enable, configure terminal interface, and then curly bracket, I'll give the name here, IP space address. After that, we put the IP. So IP like this. Then we put the mask like this. No shutdown, exit, close the multi-line string, hit enter. Now, when I define the commands, when I try to print commands, I don't have to follow the order. I can refer to the names of the dynamic values by calling name, IP, and mask. So I can say commands.format bracket. Let's define IP first. IP is equals to 192.168.1.1, comma. After that, I'll define the name. Name is equals to gigabit Ethernet 0/1, comma. Then last, I have defined mask. Mask is equals to 255.255.255.0. Put the closing brackets, hit enter, and there you go. So even when we are not defining it in the correct order, still the values are printed correctly. The IP address is at the position of IP only. The name is at the position of name, and the mask is at the position of mask. That's the benefit of giving name. It makes it easy for us to define the values there. These are few things which are related to the string. And similarly, there are multiple things related to the other data types also, like the list, the dictionaries. So let's talk a little bit about them also. And in case you are having any queries, any doubts regarding whatever we have discussed till now, so you can put your questions in the chat box or you can raise your hands. Now, earlier in the beginning, we were looking into an example where we were trying to define three variables, three different values, but in the same line, right? We said name, comma, age, comma, organization, and then we defined the values Chirag 26, PyNet Labs. Now there can be scenarios where I want to create same value. I want to assign the same value to multiple variables. So that is also possible. I can say x is equals to y is equals to z is equals to Chirag. So all the three variables, be it x, be it y, be it z, all of them have the same value called Chirag. If I say print x, then also the value will be Chirag. If I say print y, then also it is Chirag. If I say print z, there also the value is going to come out as Chirag. This is how you assign the same value to multiple variables. But let's do it vice versa. Let's try assigning multiple values to same variable. I'll say x is equals to Chirag, comma, Abhijit, comma, Nitin, comma, Nitish, enter. If I say print X, what do you think? What will be the outcome? Let's see. So we basically can see all the data, Chirag, Abhijit, Jatin, Nitish, right? But I cannot navigate from my data. I cannot pick out something specific out of it. For doing that, I need to create a list. How do you do that? You will basically use square brackets for defining a list. What is list? We all know what is a list. List is simply a collection of multiple items, right? So I'll say name is equals to a list by creating a square bracket. And then there I'll define the names like this: Chirag, comma, Abhijit, comma, Jatin, Nitish. Put a closing square bracket and hit enter. Out of this, if I just specifically want to print out Jatin, then I can do that. Why? Because I have stored the data into a list. And in order to fetch out Jatin, I have to tell the index number of Jatin. What is index number? Index number is simply the position number of your value. In the case of list, it begins from 0. So if it is beginning from 0, that means the value Chirag is at position 0. The value Abhijit is at position 1. The value Jatin is at 2 and Nitish is at 3, right? If I want specifically Jatin to be printed out, I'll refer to the index number 2, right? So I'll say print name square bracket 2, put the closing bracket, hit enter, and the value will come out as Jatin. Similarly, guys, let me know how can I print my name? Like if I want to print out Chirag, what should I write here in the interpreter? Let me know in the chat box. Print name, then square bracket 0. Awesome. So since my name is in the list at index number 0, that's why I will refer to that. I'll say print name square bracket 0 and then put a closing bracket, hit enter, and the value will come out as Chirag. If I want to convert the value Chirag into uppercase, let's try to do that now. So we want to now convert the value Chirag, which is present in the list called name at index number 0 into uppercase. All I need to do is I need to say print name square bracket 0. And before I hit enter, I will put dot upper after this. Now when I hit enter, the Chirag will be printed out in the uppercase. So simply I have used dot upper against my value. That's it. Like I was doing it earlier directly with the variable. Now I am doing it from the element of the list. Absolutely correct, Vivek. Just like that, you can also convert it into lowercase. You can also use the replace function. You can do all the things which we have learned till now. Why? Why? Because Chirag, Abhijit, Jatin, Nitish, all these are strings. These strings are stored inside a list. So if I check the data type of name, it will come out as list. But if I check the data type of just Chirag, that will come out as string. Let's see. If I say print type of name, then square bracket 0, then it is string. So we need to understand this here, that name is a list, but inside this we have multiple strings. Clear, guys? So with this new data type, which is list, we again get to see multiple inbuilt functions, like we have observed upper, lower, which are related to strings. Just like that, related to list also, there are multiple functions, or we can say built-in methods, which we can use for managing the data. Let's say I want to add a new name inside this. Let's say I want to add Sachin to my list of names. So what I'll do is I'll use a function called append. Very easy and very simple. Say name dot append bracket and then specify the value Sachin. Now if I say print name, we can see Sachin is also added to the list. But guys, do you see Sachin is added at the end? What if I want to add Ankit at the position number 3, which is basically 0, 1, 2, 3. So I want Ankit to be here after Jatin. How to do that? For that, we have a different function, which is insert. Append will simply add the element at the end. Insert will give you the ability of specifying the position. So I can say name dot insert bracket, specify the index number 3, comma, and then the value Ankit. Put the closing bracket, hit enter. Now if I say print name, then we can see Ankit is at index number 3, not at the end of the list. So when you want to specify the index number, what function you will use? You will use insert. When you want to add something just at the end of the list, then you can use append also. Clear, guys? So this was how you can manage the data of list. Similarly, you can remove the values out of a list. You can modify the values inside a list. You can do a lot of things related to list. Just like list, we have another data type called dictionaries, which we can use in multiple and various kinds of scenarios, depending upon how you want to store your data. So I'll give you a quick introduction to that also. Now, we basically have stored multiple names here, right? But it is not necessary that always I will have this type of data. I might have some information about just Chirag. Let's say I have some information about Chirag, like the name of the employee, the organization, the rule, the domain. These are 4 things which I want to store about Chirag. So I can create a list called employee, right? I can give the name first. Then I can give the organization name after that. Then I can give the role instructor. Then I can put the domain name. After that, I'll close my list. I will hit enter, right? This is one way. But in this way, I have to refer to the index number every time, which is quite difficult to do when you have the data about, let's say, of 50 employees. So understanding at what index number do we have the name of employee number 17 is quite complicated. So in a setup like that, dictionaries are something which we use, or dictionaries is a data type which can help us. What you do is you create a dictionary, you store your data inside it as key and value pair. So you create a dictionary, employee. Dictionaries are created using curly brackets. Like lists are created using square brackets, dictionaries are created using curly brackets. Inside this, you will create a key and value pair. I'll create a key called name, and then I will assign a value to that as Chirag, comma. Then I'll create another key called organization, and I'll assign the value PyNet Labs to it. Another key called role, and we'll assign the value instructor, comma, domain, and the value CISCO. Put the closing curly brackets, hit enter. Now, what is the benefit of storing the data like this? Let's try to understand. Now I don't have to worry about index numbers. Why? Because I have stored the values inside the keys. I'll just simply call my key name and I'll get the output. So if I want to print out the organization of my employee, I'll simply say print employee square bracket organization, and then you will get the output as PyNet Labs. We don't have to worry that at what index number PyNet Labs was stored. Similarly, if I want to print out the domain, then I can simply say print employee domain, enter, and the outcome is going to be CISCO. So that's how the dictionaries work. Now, it is not that dictionaries are better than lists or lists are better than dictionaries. They basically both have their own use cases. You might want a list at certain point, and then you might want a dictionary to be used at certain point. That depends upon what exactly you are trying to achieve. But this is the difference here between both of them. I hope this example makes that clear. If you guys have any question regarding any of the topic which we have covered today regarding the Python fundamentals, then you guys can let me know and we can discuss that part here. And if you are good with whatever we have discussed, you can just give me a thumbs up maybe, or just put a yes in the chat box. Are we good with this,
Uh,
guys? Yes, Vivek.
Sir, this is Vivek here, and just I want to ask, like you have defined the key pair of name then value. Can we have a facility here to provide the variable name at the place of Chirag, so that when the user enters for the value, uh, because the example it is showing the fixed value for the uh,
Correct.
so is it
Yes,
possible?
we have that ability. Yes. So for
Okay.
example, you basically have created a variable called name
Mhm.
in which you have stored the value Vivek.
Right.
Then if you want to use this variable inside your dictionary, then that is also possible. You can say employee is equals to dictionary. And when you define the key name, to that key, you will define the variable. Now, how do you define variable? You don't use quotation marks, right? You want Python to identify that value as an object. So you will simply
Right.
write name there, comma, and then you can proceed with the rest of the information.
Okay.
Organization, let's say, what's your organization, Vivek?
That is entity data.
Entity. So let's say this is my new dictionary now. Now, if I want to print out the name, so what I'll type is print emp square bracket name like this, correct?
Okay.
So the value should be Vivek, not name. Let's see. And there you go.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions, guys?
I think it was a great session, Chirag. It was very like engaging and interactive session. Most I can see mostly all of the participants have shared something in the chat box. So it's really great. So guys, if you want to speak any questions related to Python, which we had discussed right now, or if you want to have any queries related to Python and CCNA DevNet training, please feel free to ask, or you can just raise your hand. I'll give you the option to unmute yourself. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Nitish. And yeah, guys, you
I,
can raise your hands.
I think Olivier wants to ask something.
Yes. Hello, guys.
Yeah, hi, Olivia.
Hi. So I'm so interested with this program because I was waiting for that since, but maybe I'm very stuck with the time. I don't know if the live session will be on the same time as today or it will be a bit different because I'm feeling free if it will be on the same time because right now in my country is 10 a.m. It's fine, but I know from PayNet, so from PayNet Lab, we used to have the live session in my country at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. But in that time, it's not easy for me to partic
So,
to
no,
partic participate. I don't know what is the plan.
so no worries, Olivier. Like our classes are going to be at this time only at which you have joined the session. It is starting from coming Saturday. I think you are connected with Mr. Vikhyat or Hemant. I'll ask him to let you know the exact timing once again, just for an update. Okay. Yeah, and for the training, Mr. Chirag only is going to be your instructor. Yeah, so there you can have more insights on Python and DevNet. Okay.
Okay, then it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, most welcome. Vishal, you wanted to ask something? You can unmute yourself. Vishal, are you there? Can you hear us? Unable to unmute. Okay.
Vishal, you can
Can
put
you
your
please?
question in the chat if in case you are facing difficulty with that.
Yeah. Or you can try again once. No worries, Vishal. I think you are facing some difficulty. So what we will do now after this session, I'll personally connect with you once. Okay. Vivek, you wanted to ask anything? You can unmute yourself, Vivek.
Thanks. Thanks for organizing the beautiful session. Actually, I am interested in this course, but I do not have much more detail about this course. So I appreciate if you can highlight the things, what the syllabus you are going to cover into that, and if anyone see, I am a computer engineer, but uh, before You mean to say, I mean to say, around 6 years ago, I was a network engineer, but there is a gap, and now again I want to go for network automation because since I have a very good data knowledge about the network domain, so I am interested into that. So, is there any impact if I do not have much more hands-on on network terminology, or you can say that protocol and all?
Yes, that's fine, Vivek. It's a new technology and it's new for everyone.
Okay.
So here in this training, we are covering everything from scratch only. Okay. So no
Okay.
need to worry. After this session, I'll send you the updated course content which we are having. I'll share to Tahir as well, and with all you all who have joined the session, because I saw two, three more participants wants to check the course content. So yes, definitely, I'll personally send the content to you all after this session. Yeah.
I appreciate if you can share the fee structure also. That will help us.
Sure, sure.
And this is the weekend classes, or we have the regular classes also from Monday to Friday. And what is the duration of
So
the course?
yeah, yeah, everything I'll let you know on the call. Normally, total duration is 40 hours, and
Okay.
this is a weekend batch, so it's only on Saturday and Sunday, 1 p.m. to
Okay.
3 p.m., 2 hours per day. Okay. So, Mr.
Okay.
Chirag, yeah, Mr. Chirag, just open the website. You can check the content. I'll just what I'll do best now. I'll drop the website link as well in this chat box. You can go through
Great.
it once. Yeah.
Great. Great.
Yeah.
So guys,
And
if you go on this
what is the
page,
system? Really sorry. What is the system requirement? Do we need to keep so that we can do the hands-on? Is there any
yes.
hardware specific required?
Yeah, so we just need a device with a RAM of 8 GB. 8 GB
Okay.
is good, but if it is 16, then it's great. So we need
Mhm.
a system with 8 GB of RAM which can support virtualization, which nowadays
Okay.
most of the processors are there supporting.
Okay.
So that's
Mhm.
one thing which I would need. Rest of it will be taken care of by us. I'll be helping you personally to set up the labs on your local devices so that you don't have to rely upon us to practice your labs. You can do it anytime you want. Also,
Right.
the labs you will have for lifetime, so not just for the course duration. You will have it with you personally in your local machine, so you can practice anytime you want.
Right.
Secondly, I was saying that if you go on this page, you will get to see a whole detailed information about what will be covered in the training and some other insights about the PCNE program. So you can refer to this option. Otherwise, you guys have already got the link to connect with Mr. Nitish. You can speak to him anytime.
In short, this is the 5 months or 6 month course.
The duration
Weekend,
will be also, yeah, Nitish, would you like to speak?
yeah. So weekend batch will take 2 months, Vivek.
2 months. If you are taking 2 hours per week, then in a month it's 8 hours. So you
Correct.
told 40 hours total course.
Correct, correct. So if it's required to extend, we are flexible in that part as well. Okay. So
Okay.
normally classes are getting over after 2 or sometimes 2.5 hours, depending on the content plus doubts and queries asked by the participants. Yeah.
But again, in a month it's only 8 hours. And
Correct.
if I talk about the 2 months, it's 16 hours only, and we have to cover up the 40 hours. So it will take maximum 2 or 3 hours as per your
Correct,
statement.
correct. So that's yeah, that will take. Do not worry.
No
Vivek, I
problem.
think you got a little confused here. In a month, there will be 16 hours, right? We'll have it on
Uh,
weekend, Saturday, Sunday, both.
Oh, okay, correct, correct. You are right, sir.
Yeah.
You are right.
And
16
not just
hours, correct.
16, as Nitish mentioned. So it is not necessary that every day we wind up at 2 hours only. Depending upon the
Mm,
type of discussion we are having, depending upon
mm.
the topic we are covering, we might extend some days also.
Okay, okay, got it,
So
sir.
you can
Got it.
be rest assured about the content. We will be covering everything, even if we have to extend the session a little bit.
No problem. Got it.
Yeah. So we have
Okay.
a Oliver query, I guess, from Oliver that he's working with a bulk of devices. So Oliver, I think network automation is all about making the task easier. So like I was working on a lab before joining this session. I'll show it to you guys. I have this topology here in front of me where I have three routers. Like this is a small setup, but this will give you the idea about how it works in production environment also. So we have these 3 routers, and we can basically configure all 3 of them by just using a single script. So all such abilities are there which we can achieve using Python automation. So that's completely going to help you in a scenario like this where you want to send some commands on hundreds of devices. Yeah, any other questions, guys? Any doubts?
Sir, I have a question here. So, this is the you are talking about the configuration. When it comes to retrieve the data from the devices, that will also cover into that. Like as the Cisco, we have a orchestrator, and from there we want to pull the data and share with our client or customer or the top management. That is that part is also there inside this course.
Yes, Vivek. So if I basically want to fetch out the configurations out of device and I want to, for example, even store it into a text file. So the whole
Right.
thing I can define using a Python script. I don't even have to open a file to copy and paste. That is also going to be done by my Python script only.
Great. And encryption part is also taken care.
Yeah,
Like
we
there are
have
few
multiple
important.
protocols which automatically takes care of encryption. So those
Okay.
things we'll be exploring in the training in more detail.
Yeah, yeah. Great, sir. Thank you.
All right. I think we are good to go. No more questions. Yes, Akshat,
Uh,
you want to ask? Yeah.
yes, I
You
have
can.
one question. So if I
Yes.
don't have, enough configuration in my laptop, so are you providing any online lab kind of thing?
Yes, so we will discuss on call once we are providing virtual lab machine to the participants who are having less configuration or resources in their system. So I'll connect you after this session. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, once again, I'm unmuting myself. Is it possible to show the virtual system you are talking about for the lab? It is possible right now, or you will tell us after this session?
So that is you can access through remote desktop, Vivek. That will take some
Okay,
time. Yeah.
okay,
So in
okay,
the session, I'll provide you individual lab access, those who are facing
okay.
difficulty. So yeah,
Mhm. Okay, no problem, sir. Thank you.
no problem. So yeah, thanks for your time, guys. Yeah, see you all in the training. Yeah, definitely. So Chirag, I think we are good to go.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Nitish. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
You can connect with your further queries with Mr. Nitish. And we have also shared the link of Telegram group. So in case you get any queries, you can put up your queries there also. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. Have a good day.